Hello and welcome to this episode number 9 of Games on the Rocks, Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll. In board games, I am one of your hosts and meeples, Stephanie Straw, but I am joined with two of the best meeples I've had the pleasure of meeting in my life ever. One of them is Suzanne Sheldon. Suzanne, hello.
Hello. How are you, beautiful lady?
Doing well. So glad to be back with you guys. Has it been 3 weeks? Or has it only been 2?
2 weeks? Doesn't matter. It's been too long.
Like forever.
That's right. Well, I'm excited that you're here. I'm excited for our chat tonight. I really, this is so much fun just to, obviously, you are some of my favorite people and friends, but then I really love how our Twitch chat group has grown and just gets so chatty Cathy in there. So I even bought a special keyboard so I could like participate better. So there you go. But over in my little window over that way, I've got a Maggie bot. So say hi, Mags.
Hey, good evening, everyone. I'm so happy to be doing this. And it has only been a couple of weeks, but it feels like longer when we're not on. I would also like to say a special hello to Andrew, who's eating noodles in the chat. And I always want to encourage people to eat carbs because they're special to me. And I just love that so much.
I heart carbs.
This is a carb.
Is butter a carb?
Is butter a carb? Yes.
Mean Girls reference. Like a minute in the show, we've got a Mean Girls reference. There we go.
Yeah. One of these days, we will have an entire show with just Mean Girls references, I think.
I better phone up and watch it again.
So for those joining us for the first time, if you are watching on our YouTube channel, that's awesome. You can watch us. We simulcast live to YouTube and Twitch, but we watch the chat and interact on the chat on Twitch, and that is twitch.tv/meeples included. So you can head on over there or there or there. I don't know. The internet's everywhere. So actually, it's not everywhere. Like today.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Twitter shut down.
Mags is so upset. Yes. So the Twitters, was it down for you for a bit, Mags?
Oh my God. So TweetDeck went down first. And that's usually how I consume my Twitter. So then I switched to like Twitter's inherent apps and website, and then those went down for a while. And then I literally didn't know what to do anymore with my life. And I'm kind of sad about it all.
It was terrible. I was at work and I actually had to focus on work. I had like nothing else to do.
We're talking about this like this is a major national event.
Hey,
I remember
wait.
where I was on October 21st.
You never lost your Twitter. Twitter stayed with you.
I know. I didn't. Nothing. I didn't lose anything. What? I had my Spotify. I had Twitter. Gidget was there. Yeah, I didn't lose anything. So Ozark privilege, I guess. I don't know.
I think it was a Seattle thing because Viva lost her Twitter.
Yeah.
Well, but there's a lot of people on the East Coast that lost it too, though. So.
But Arkansas is on the East Coast.
That is a funny thing. So I said that we were going to open up and Suzanne was going to confess something. And we were talking about what time the show started. And Suzanne said, it's 11 for you, right? And I said, no, it's 10. It's 10 o'clock for me. And she goes, oh, are you not on the Eastern? I said, no, I'm on Central. She goes, Arkansas is on the East, though. East Coast, right?
Why are you laughing? Why are you laughing at me?
Because I would have
Gidget is laughing at you.
I would have maybe confused Mountain and Central for her, but East Coast is really far.
Somebody in the chat has to come on. Somebody has to
raise your hand in the chat if you ever thought Arkansas was on the East Coast.
It's over there. It's so far away.
You have accents. It is super far.
And like Georgia is over there.
Wait, no.
Arkansas and Georgia,
She's not
right?
in Alabama. She's on the other side of Texas.
I'm on top of Louisiana, if we're calling the top like.
Okay, that's kind of middle-ish.
Yeah,
yes, exactly. Yeah. Precisely correct. Yes.
The Arkansas River is pretty centrally located. Yeah, so good. Yeah. So good. That was an accidental segue too. Nicole, by the way, is going to be joining us possibly a little bit later. She was getting home really late tonight. So no pressure, Nicole, if you're watching. You don't have to hop on. But yeah, she might be jumping in later. We thought we would talk about sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and we will a little bit later. But we are going to start with what we have been playing, or just like what's up. Let's catch up. It's been 2 weeks. I would love to hear from everyone in chat too, what you've been playing, what you're excited about, any new game purchases, whatever. So Mags, you had a story. Do you want to start us off with a great speaking of geography? No, you don't start.
I want to ask Suze a question. Ooh. Hey, Suze, how much did you spend for Essen games this week?
Suzanne Sheldon, your response. Suzanne, your response.
What? Why are you calling? Okay, so I get that I was wrong on geography. Hello.
You have 2 minutes, Suzanne.
I spent more than I expected.
So I thought we sit down at Cafe Mox, right? At my work, it's down below my office. And I sit down and Suze is like, so they sent me the picture of what I bought because she had 2 of our friends going and muling for her out in Essen. She's like, it's a lot more than I thought it was.
It was just, and God bless them. So Tiffany Ralph, the one tar, and her husband, or Tiffany Kairas, and her husband Steve were kind enough to help me get the games I wanted from Essen. And I thought maybe I had like a little like stack, and I really had like a stack. And so I spent, I think it ended up being like $500. But
unboxed, it filled an IKEA bag.
Yeah,
this is Essen goods.
But
yeah.
But so and I feel weird and happy and sad about that, because one of the things I've been playing, and I've just finished my second game of it tonight, is this one right here.
I saw that on Instagram.
So this is Garden of Minions. It's a solitaire game that uses dice placement primarily. It is adorable. It's from a Japanese publisher, Manifest Destiny. And when I was going through the preview list, I kind of focused on solitaire games because I'm, just the lighter ones and things like that. And I wanted to pick it up. And I saw this. I'm like, click, pre-order, right? Great.
Right.
Well,
yeah.
Apparently they sold out really, really quickly. And I just found out the other day, they only did a print run of 100.
Whoa.
Right. And I mean, they do that in Japan. Like if you go to Tokyo Game Market, sometimes they have like a print run of like 20 handmade games. It's madness.
So you have a copy of a dice placement solo game, and I don't.
I'm sorry. And so like it's weird because like I talk about games online and I feel bad because it's beautiful and it's quite fun. But now I feel
could sell that game theoretically and get,
but I love it.
The pretty penny back, right?
Maybe. So if anybody has played the app game called Triple Town, which was actually originally random knowledge that I have, it was originally a game made for the Kindle before like the Kindle Fire, before any fancy like the old school Kindle. It was a really simple black and white app created for the Kindle about these cute little bears and trees and plants, and you would place them, and when you put like three touching of the same type, they would combine into a more powerful thing, and then they would keep on going. This is basically, if anybody's played that,
like Candy Crush, or
not quite better, more puzzly. Try Triple Town. So, and then they've totally revamped the app like for modern, and it's adorable. This is Triple Town, the board game, solitaire style. It is so much fun. You roll these dice and you place them, and when you put 4 or more of the same number together, they combine. They form a little union. They combine. The leader die gets leveled up, and you get to knock out bad guys with it. And the puzzliness of placing these dice down and figuring out how to use them, and you can split dice. So if you roll a 5, you can place it as a 5, or you could split it and place it as a 1 and a 4, or a 2 and a 3. So even though there's dice rolling in it, there's a lot of, you don't feel slave to luck. There's a lot of mitigation and a lot of strategy and planning, and you have to think 5 moves ahead. So it's awesome, but I feel bad saying that. Is that so? Yeah.
You are bad and you should feel bad. No,
I am bad and I do feel bad.
No, it's good. And I never want to pressure people into doing stuff like that, because you can look at all of my Essen purchases, and they are now all from last year, and they're now all available in the US. So, you take a chance, and they were not planned to. So one of them was Ponzi Scheme, which is actually now coming out.
Yeah,
soon.
So excited
now. And then Haru Ichiban, which is coming out, but not the beautiful version that Nicholas purchased for me. Nicholas, if you're in the chat, I always like to give you a shout. I don't know. I did not see them, but mine is the like beautiful wooden version, which the other version is beautiful too, but it's just a game board instead of this beautiful wooden case that like unfolds and breaks apart and then comes back together to make the game board and these beautiful lily pads. But that's now available. And then Burano is it's available. I mean, we sell it in my FLGS. I don't see a whole lot of it or anything, but
it's still available.
Dado Chang is not, as far as I know, available.
No, that's great. That's something Fox.
Yeah, so that's the only one I think of like the big purchases that I got last year from Essen that is not available in the US. So there's hope, right? I mean, Tasty Distro could pick that game up. I mean, they're probably watching. Like, I don't see why they wouldn't be.
I hear they're pretty big fans. So, where else would they be?
TMG is so hot right now.
That's so hot.
And Stronghold. Stronghold and TMG are straight killing it.
Teamers.
Mm-hmm.
So, Steph, what have you been playing?
So I just got back from a trip to Pennsylvania. I met up with like 30 friends of mine that some of which I've known for 10 plus years. And I brought, since most of them are either have not played today's hobby game, like board games, or are like mildly familiar with them, very casual scope. So I brought like Cockroach Poker, Codenames, One Night Ultimate Werewolf. We actually all play, I've talked about it before, but it's part of the group that I play Forum or Online Mafia with, which is very similar to Werewolf or Resistance or kind of those types of games. So they were sort of familiar with that concept of lying to your friends and people that you're supposed to trust implicitly. So yeah, we played like One Night Ultimate Werewolf over and over and over again. And it's always great to hear they, after like came back home, they're, what was that word game that we played? And I'm like, Codenames. Or they're like, what was that other game? Or some of them are like, no, let's just one more round. We'll just play one more round. And it's like 4 a.m. and we should all go to bed. So it makes me feel warm and happy in my gamer heart, And one of them was mad that I didn't bring Mysterium. It was too big for my luggage. So I didn't want to check a bag, but it's great. It's great that, I don't know. I like forming new board gamers. I mean, some of them are into board games, but I like forging new people in the community. So that's kind of what I've been up to lately.
That's awesome. Way to go, Steph. All right, Mags, I want to hear the story.
Well,
yeah, I'm like on the edge of my seat. I paid for the whole seat, and I only need the edge.
No, I said story, and it was like an immediate regret. I played Great Western Trail.
I'm so excited to try that.
So,
we need to do our cocktail.
Oh,
should we do our cocktail and then, or do you want to do your story?
Of course,
okay.
Cocktails are important.
Cocktails are important. So I mentioned our theme, and so I'm going to put the recipe up for those on Twitch. Unfortunately, it won't be archived on YouTube, but putting the recipe up now. So sex, drugs, and rocktail. Equal parts of rum, which is the sex, and Coke, that's the drugs, and Rockstar energy drink, that's the rock and roll. Mix together and add some lime because that's the stock photo that I found on Google, and it sounded okay.
Yay! I had it, so there you go. Well, I didn't do the line thing because that's ridiculous.
Suze.
What? Well, oh, sorry. I mean, I totally did it. I'm just, what?
I mean, I obviously didn't do
But did we talk about my facepalm moment where you told me what the cocktail was tonight? And I was like, I should find some caffeine-free Rockstar for that.
I should, do they make caffeine-free caffeine? Do they make liquid caffeine without caffeine? Is that a thing?
I was like, I don't really need the extra caffeine at 8 o'clock at night.
So great. So what are you drinking instead, Mags?
So instead of rum, there's whiskey. And instead of Coke, I was going to do root beer, but I went to Trader Joe's and they literally did not have root beer in the store. So this is a whiskey ginger. Sure.
I like whiskey
Rock and
ginger.
roll is about doing like whatever you want anyway. So
I also bought sour cream and onion corn puffs, and that was important to me.
that symbolizes the sex portion of our show. I think.
Nothing
Trader
says
Joe's
sex like sour
or
cream and
drunk.
onion.
Sour cream and onion corn
So
puffs
good.
from Trader Joe's are amazing.
Mags and I know about those chips at Chip Life.
That chip life. I live that
Chip
chip
life.
life every day.
Susan's got that pie life. Fries, though. I am drinking just like all of the cider in North America, I think, is in this glass. So it's a cider that my friend made for me called Peach Blitz, based off of Panzer Blitz. This old, used to be Grail game for me, but now I have a copy of it. Right there.
Awesome.
See? It's convenient that it's there. Oddly comes up a lot, probably because it's there. So does HeroQuest, I guess. So that's what I'm drinking. There might be some surprises in the cider though, because it needed a little something. Not drugs. It's not drugs though.
The surprises were aspirin.
The surprises are candy corn. It's medicine. So Mags, why don't you tell your Great Western Trail story? Or anecdote or whatever we're calling it.
I just played Great Western Trail, and I felt bad because I went into it. So Alexander Pfister is like on fire, right? Everyone loves everything he's done for like 2 years now. Everyone's all about everything Pfister. And unfortunately, I haven't loved any of those games. I've liked them just fine. But other than Broom Service, I really haven't replayed a lot of them. So I went into it with like really low expectations. And let me just tell you right now, it's not going to be one of my favorite games ever, but it's really, really good. Great Western Trail is fantastic.
Yay.
It's really hard to describe too, which is great because you want a game to be like hard to compare to other things. Every time they were describing a scoring mechanism or a movement mechanism, I was like, oh, it's like that thing from Kraftwagen or that thing from this other thing. But there were like 20 of those. So it's this big old mishmash game where you want to do a million different things and you can't do them all, and everyone's in your freaking way, and you have to pay everybody else money. And the game doesn't really incentivize doing anything well, particularly. Like, if you do really well on the railroad, like, you get really far, but you don't get extra money or points or anything. So it was a very interesting design and done in a really different way. And now I'm really mad that I won't have a copy until December because I learned on somebody else's copy. So,
Oh, gotcha.
yeah,
Oh.
I'm bitter.
Yeah, so that one is not. It's not actually being released until December. You said.
Well, that's the rumor. I've not seen anything that says anything earlier than December.
Well,
Yeah, I
I tied
don't
it to my
remember.
pre-order Feast of Odin, so F that noise.
No.
Son of a nutcracker.
and oh, okay. So let's not get into Feast of Odin because that has its own issues.
Yeah, let's not tie anything to anything right now. But friendly local game stores are accepting pre-orders. So if it's something you're interested in, maybe you can get a discount through your FLGS. Mine offers one. So
Oh, for pre-ordering? That's such a smart move.
for games that like not for LCGs, CCGs, and stuff like
Yeah.
that, but but other games that they aren't planning to like, even games they're kind of planning to get. Just so, because it helps them get an idea of how many they should
Totally.
order.
Well, one of my FLGSs is called Blue Highway Games up here in Seattle, and they do a fantastic job. Every year they go to Essen and they bring back a pallet of games. And about 6 months before they do that, they do an auction, and you can bring all your old games, and they can like auction them off for store credit for you. So I have about 6 Essen games worth of store credit at my FLGS right now, and so I'm just waiting for their pallet to land. It's really bad to have a couple $100, $300 in store credit at a game store. I really don't need that.
Yes, yes, you do.
Mad Bono 1 is demanding Feast story. So the people want more of Mag's stories. So yeah.
Well, Feast has a problem right now. So they went to Essen and they did very well.
While you're telling the story,
yeah,
drinking.
Drink all of the cider in North America, all of it, and then have some candy corn. So Feast, unfortunately, sold out at Essen, but also oversold from its pre-orders. So now those of us in the gaming industry are a little bit nervous. We don't know how much is coming or whether or not we're going to get our pre-orders.
Oh.
We don't know who's getting what.
Well, pre-orders are still open as of right now.
I have no idea because I don't play in the online stuff very often. I don't hear like the cool stuff kind of stuff. It's not part of my world. And so all I know is that Feast for Odin, if you have a pre-order somewhere, give them a call. Just double check that it's guaranteed. And I have very, very few copies. If you're in Seattle and you need a copy, you need to get reserved right now.
You need to make some friends real quick if you don't have any.
Well, I don't expect it. So I don't know if you all know this, but Z-Man Games, Zev left a little while to go to WizKids. Mm-hmm. And ever since then, they've been letting a lot of games go out of print somewhat permanently. And so I don't know what all is getting reprints at the moment. They're barely reprinting anything. So I don't know what's going on with Z-Man, but it's not good, and I don't love it. From a retail perspective, it sucks.
Well, how do you think Asmodee is going to impact that, if at all?
Well, Asmodee doesn't own them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean,
unless I'm crazy.
Well, I thought that they had entered into, like, I thought it was announced that they had with FTZ.
Well, they've attempted it.
Okay.
If they get through that, then they will be on the Asmodee train where anything that makes any kind of money will get picked up.
Right.
And if you don't make enough money fast enough, you'll never see the light of day again.
Right.
Which is not a horrible idea. I get it from a business perspective, but Z-Man was already a really, really conservative company and just let things... Like, Akrotiri is a really good example of what sold okay. Sold for my store, sold really well, but then went almost immediately out of print and no scheduled reprint. And so I wonder how many other games are going to go the same way.
It sold really well in my store, but I was a little bit of an Akrotiri evangelist. So
yeah.
Well, my store is almost like 2-player games. If you can sell them, because we sell beer, so we're like a date spot. If you play a 2-player game, like, oh yeah, you're gonna sell. We sell so much Morels and Jaipur, and like 2-player games are our bread and butter. So we sold a hell of a lot of Akrotiri, and I don't know if that's not normal. I don't know if it didn't sell well other places.
It's sold well in our store. It's because it's just a small box and it's pretty easy to teach, but it has like a really, satisfying experience. So, and the staff was jazzed about it. That always helps. If the staff is passionate about it and can speak about it, because they don't have time to literally play all of the games. All of them cannot play all of the games, and Magic and Force of Will and War Machine and Hordes and Infinity. They can't play everything. So, and I can't be there all of the time as the person to talk about board games. So if I can get them to get passionate about something, then they're going to sell that. Like Splendor, out the door, because it's super easy, right? Abstract strategy games, because you're not going to get them by theme. You're going to get them by, this is this cool thing that you do on your turn. This is the strategy. And it's really easy to talk about. So abstract strategy and 2-player sell really well for us too.
Well, and something that they mentioned also in the chat, that's Sin and Jay are the team that made Bamboozle Brothers. Yeah. They made Akrotiri. And one really nice thing for us in Seattle, and I don't know who in Canada also had this benefit, but they came by this store and kind of talked themselves up a little bit, which I wish they had done for junk art, because we sold less junk art than I thought we would. But
that's too bad. Junk art's so awesome.
Well, it sold out before we could make it a big perennial seller. Junk art almost immediately sold out, but I could have done a big pre-order if other people had heard of it before. So they did a really great job of announcing and supporting Akrotiri themselves, which is a huge personal expensive time and effort and all that stuff. And I know that that takes a lot out of people, but you can't do that for every title, right? And you can't be that local for every title. So I don't know.
Right.
I don't know how much of an impact that had on the local Akrotiri meta, but I know that a lot of stores in Seattle sold well for that.
Well, and actually, kind of more to your point, I didn't even know Akrotiri existed. It came out in 2015, tail end of 2015. And I only knew it existed because I was in Seattle and Chris Rollins taught it to me. So I don't know that we would have even heard about it, gotten it at all.
Well, and they're mentioning the Targi expansion in the chat. And I am salty that Tames and Cosmos can't get the Targi expansion over into the English market. And I have a feeling
how that is. Is it because they just don't anticipate the sales? Like, what do you think the average percentage is for expansions for people that own the base game?
I don't know the question. I don't know the answer to that, but I think the answer to Targi's problem is that Tames and Cosmos, in between signing Targi into Z-Man's repertoire, they went solo. They started putting out their own games again. They got their license to Lost Cities back. They got their license to a couple of games back. I don't know if they ever got Targi. So I don't know if they have the ability to sell Targi expansion in the States.
So that's actually why I got it from Germany, because Targi is like one of my all-time favorite games. It's definitely one of my top 2-player games, no question.
Actually, you guys do this all the time. I'm doing it. You do this all the time.
I'm gonna flip you all off.
If both of you bring out your Targies, I'm gonna be so mad. Damn it.
Look how beautiful she is. She's so gorgeous.
Look at original Targi. Ooh.
Well, hold on. Someone in the chat just called Targi Jumbo. Hold the phone.
Okay, back off. Quick. Meg's got to fight this battle.
So Jumbo is all fine and good. Jumbo, in my mind, is Jaipur kind of sorta card game. Targi is a fantastic worker placement game, unsurpassed in the market for 2-player. Seriously on top. It's one of my favorite 2-players that's ever existed, minus Fields of Arla. I can't express enough how much I love Targi. And I get really, really mad that Jumbo, for some reason, outstrips it in every single market. I don't understand.
Well, and if we got this kind of cover art for it, maybe it would sell better because it's so flipping gorgeous. It's beautiful. And I actually, Steph, I have the same edition you held up, and I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna switch to this box as my primary box because it's so much prettier. But
Mags, you like it better.
Everything you were saying is exactly why. I mean, this is in German language. I can't read these cards. I'm gonna have to paste them up, and I think the back, I have to look at the backs up, but I've heard I have to I'm gonna have to figure out a sleeving thing or whatever.
These English cards. Ooh,
I kind of got. All right, you got me. I kind of got freaked out that I'm like, oh shoot, I don't know when I'll be able to get this in English, and I feel like if I don't get it now, I'm going to be SOL. And so
I mean, you learned a lesson from some of your Essen games, right? 100 print runs.
Yeah, right. So I'm bummed too, Mags, and I think a lot of fans are. I mean, Targi, to your point, is an amazing 2-player game. It deserves. Darn it, us English speakers and readers deserve the expansion. We deserve it. We want it.
And you have a
Legends of Andor. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Well, and you have a designer like Andy Steiger, who did Targi as his first game, and it's so brilliant, and he's so sweet and nice, and I can't express enough how many conversations I've had with him about how great his game is, but he's super humble still. I want him to have a big release in the States so that he can just do whatever he wants, because that's kind of how it works in the US.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, you get one good game and then you can do whatever you want.
I mean, Or is there a lot of pressure?
Sure.
Like, this game was amazing, and then people are comparing your next game to that first game, and well, this isn't as good as Targi,
Yeah. Okay. You're right.
It depends. It could go that direction. I think it's less. I think it was less likely to do that like several years ago, but I think more likely to do that now because there's so many games, and people just seem like they're more critical of games as far as relating them to the designer and relating them to the publisher. All of those things, even just where they're available, like. People are saying this is the blah 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 killer or this is the blah 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 replacement.
Yeah. Oh.
And like this game uses a Hanabi mechanicism. So I'm making that happen. By the way, mechanicism.
I was like,
Stop trying to make fetch happen.
No.
Second Mean
mechanicism.
Girls.
Second two. How many drink every time there's a Mean Girls reference?
cheers to that.
I want to lose 3 pounds.
Oh boy.
I love it. Have I mentioned how much I love you ladies and everyone in chat right now?
Oh my god,
That's not
too.
That's only after like this much cider, so I'm not
Nice.
just.
Yeah, but you told us you juiced that cider, so don't even.
I might have put some of this in it. It just needed a little.
Woo!
Just needed a little juniper, Needed
Needed
some plant.
herb.
It did. It did need some herb. Mechanicism is totally going to happen. It's going to happen. That's the new thing. So there's the battle, right, between calling it a mechanic and a mechanism. And the reason being is because they say a mechanic is someone that works in a car, which is actually not necessarily true because there's things like quantum mechanics, so like whatever. But to erase
my
that
argument for mechanic versus mechanism. If you're talking Magic the Gathering, mechanic is totally valid because everyone knows what you're talking about. You cannot talk Magic the Gathering and talk about a mechanism. No one will get it. And for a game,
it's almost like you're talking about like a physical, like
right.
piece of a watch.
People are like,
gear.
"What are you trying to do? Gears or something?" No, a mechanic in Magic makes sense. In board games, I'm trying to switch to mechanism to be more specific, but it's not working. I keep saying mechanic anyway, so I'm trying.
Well, yeah, it's catching for me. It's catching for me. I used to say mechanic, and then I tried to say mechanism because people would like not listen to what you said just because you said mechanic.
Exactly.
And then now I'm saying mechanicism because they have to listen to what I'm saying now.
Now they're gonna have to puzzle out mechanicism and listen to it even harder.
They're not listening to the rest of it. They're just going, "What the fuck is a mechanicism?" Yeah.
But like, does it really matter? And I mean, there are some people who are very linguistically demanding, and they get upset about things like that, and they get really worked up about them. And I'm like, if somebody made a meow meow beans,
I know. I just say meow meow beans all the way down. I love it. I know. I swear, so great.
But like, it's like, Mags, if you're talking about board games with people about board games in a board game store or whatever, it's like if you say mechanic, everybody knows what you're talking about. And I mean, I think that's to some degree the point of language is to communicate. If the people you are communicating with know what you're talking about, nobody's watching your vlog and going, "Oh, she said mechanic. Why did in the middle of a sentence about board games, she suddenly switched to talking about somebody repairing her car?"
Yeah, and that's the reason I'm trying to switch is that very thing. It's like if I'm talking in a store, no one's going to sit there and correct me. But if I put it on YouTube, and literally earlier today, I had a comment from a video I made 4 years ago about a small rules mistake that I later admitted to in the comments.
Mm-hmm.
He sent me a geek mail to make sure I realized that I made the small rule mistake. So when you put yourself into vlogs or whatever, like you need to go at least with the most correct zeitgeist you can, just to avoid some of that.
I mean, here's the deal, though. This stuff is permanent, okay? That's the podcast, videocast, vlogging life that we're living in. We can't take this back. Like I said something on a podcast about the Fantasy Flight WizKid divorce and something about the Lord of the Rings, because I misunderstood something that a friend who played the game and was in the industry knew, and thought that they were no longer going to be doing that. They are doing that, by the way. That is continuing. Lord of the Rings card game, TCG, is totally fine, from what I'm told. I'll probably be wrong. Someone will correct me, but this is live, so it's different. Yeah, this is all permanent. So whatever we say is out there. So if we make a mistake, it's like, sorry. It's there.
If we make a mistake, just sorry.
But all of this is way off of our topic for the day.
Oh, that's
It
true.
is. Well, we were talking about what's been going on lately, so that was our topic. We could start it now, unless you want to talk about other games that you've been playing.
Let's talk about Capital X real quick, and then we can get into it, because Susan and I got to play games together twice in a week. It just was so exciting.
Magical.
It was
I'm
magical.
so upset. Very upset.
So soon, Steph. I will see you and hug you, and hug you into the
Oh
world.
my gosh, it's like 2 weeks. It's so
I know.
great.
So anyone that is supporting Extra Life,
Hold on,
we will have an Extra Life stream November 5th at twitch.tv/Card Kingdom. And Steph and I will be there for 24 hours, and we have dragged Suze and Bevo into that for some amount of time, and Aaron Dunna into that for some amount of time. And we're
Go
very
heart
excited.
them on Twitch/Card Kingdom. Go heart them on Twitch and select to be notified when we go live, so you know when we go live.
Do all
Go do
those
that.
things. But so Suze and I got to get together and play Capital X, which is one of the very few SN purchases I had to make, because most of the heavy games I wanted from SN I had backed on Kickstarter earlier in the year. Capital Lux is a nice, light, mathy card game, which is fabulous. And she's holding it. Are she holding it?
I was.
You have to talk so the camera picks you up.
Oh, hi. Boo, boo, boo. Da, ba, ba,
Oh, here,
hi,
I can-
rah.
I'll lock it on you. You don't have to. You can just show it. It's locked on you right now. We'll just lock it on Suze forever. For all I care. That's
No, oh my God. Then when I pick my nose? Like,
But this is kind of like a set collection game, but you want to optimize each color, but you can't optimize so much that you outvalue the middle, like, capital part. So you play cards and you're playing into the capital or your own set, and then you're trying to use the abilities on the cards to get your sets working. It's just a really neat little fun game, and I liked it a lot. Suze, what did you like about it?
oh, I'm actually glad to hear that you liked it so much, Megs, because I think that these lighter games can be a little touch and go sometimes with you. Like I think you're more discerning than I am. Like, I'm just like, it's cute, it's pretty, I love it, and you're all like, yeah, but there's no game there, and I'm like, I don't care, it's cute, I like it. And so I was actually really glad that you liked it, and I totally agree. Like, the mechanisms are super light and easy, but because each card you have to choose, you have this choice of like whether you're going to go for the ability or put it in for scoring, and then you have to monitor these amounts, and people are messing with, like, it had a nice little bite to it, and so it's a keeper. Like, I'm really glad I got it. This is a ton of fun, plus it's stunning. So between it being fun, quick, engaging, and gorgeous, like, how could you not want this game? Right,
and that's Quan Chai, right? Like the guy
Quan Chai.
from California.
Yeah, Quan Chai. Yeah. You can like, Quan Chai is one of those identifiable art people. You're like, that's Quan Chai.
Well, there's him and Vincent Dutrait at this point, and Beth Sobel, and those are the only ones I could like identify.
I
feel bad about
can't
saying
even
nothing.
identify Beth Sobel all the time, because I'm not saying the others aren't versatile. I think that people like specific styles and are like, I want that style,
Yeah.
But Beth, I think, like, viticulture and lanterns,
Between Two Cities,
and they're different. They're really different. And then she's doing the art on The Last Garden, which also to me looks different. Maybe it doesn't, but
She also
The
did the
Quan Chai
art on the
seems
People's
more
Included buttons that I have here for BGGCon.
Can we show them here? Let me put it on you. Can you put one up to the camera and we'll
I
show
can
those?
indeed. So she
come-
and I
Come
mean
find
they're
a Maggie
very
bot.
they're simple, but I
Put your hand behind it.
yeah.
I'm
So
trying. I'm trying. There's so much light. Sorry.
There's so much light.
So for
Privacy.
Maples Included, she just like literally said, if there's anything I can do, let me know. And she did this little like cute swoop, and she did a really cute meeple with a heart on it.
Love
And
Beth.
I love Beth so much. And if you don't follow her online, you should, because she does these hour-long studies that look like something I couldn't draw if I spent 10 years trying to do it.
The
And-
day that I die is if she ever does a study for me.
No, don't die. Please don't do that,
That's my
because I
goal
would
in life.
commission
No,
that.
I'll be so
but-
happy. I'll be like happy.
When I
She-
die, she can draw me.
Fine, it's the
Don't-
day that I'm born. It's the day that will be my birthday. That will be my actual.
Will you be a vampire?
I think so. Maybe.
Or a phoenix, a reborn,
Can-
like a
can-
phoenix from
and
the
both
ashes?
of those things still have cocktails.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Mm. Then yep.
Okay, sorry to go on a Beth Sobel interlude, because I love her
Yeah.
so much, but she would hate that I was talking about her on stream.
Right. That's
She
probably
loves
true.
it.
Yeah.
We talk about her every Wednesday on Nerd Nighters.
How could you?
She's so fabulous. But Quan Chai I've not met, and Vincent Detroit I've not met. So, like, I only have Beth. That's all I have.
No, and all of those are great artists. And I mean, honestly, there's a lot of other great artists out there too. Danny Devine comes to mind, and they stylistically, right? They're so different, and so I love that diversity and that variety, and that are getting into the hobby more. And I follow like a lot of illustrators and graphic designers and artists, like comic book artists, on Twitter and on Instagram. And as many great artists as we have, I actually think that there's room for more. Like, there's so many great artists out there, and so many times when I'm looking at my social media feeds, I see a piece of art and I'm like, oh, I wish this person was hired to do some board game art, because they're phenomenal. So Nolan Nasser is a great one. Oh my gosh, yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm board game art is getting better and better, and I think people like Quan Chai and people like Vincent and people like Beth are leading that, and I can't wait to see what the long tail effect is, basically.
Yeah, there's like professional board game artists and graphic artists and illustrators and stuff.
That's wild.
super cool.
It's wild.
Yeah, it is wild. Our hobby, it's grown up. It's been grown up for a long time. I'm not. Yeah. Okay. So, do we want to talk about, now that Board Game Geek is here? Do we want to talk about sex, drugs, or rock and roll?
We were just waiting until Board Game Geek should.
Yeah, I mean, you know. So let me just explain the. I actually, I don't even know exactly how it came about, but it was like we said we were going to talk about this. Someone was like, "What about this?" And then somehow sex, drugs, and rock and roll came up. I don't know. And we thought, well, that's doable. There's several ways that we can approach it. And Even Weirder Move actually asked, like, which way, or are you talking about sex? Are you talking about gender? Are you talking about sexuality, intimacy? I mean, there's lots of ways to take that, put that. Same with drugs. Like, that could go several different ways. Rock and roll could also go several different ways. So we kind of wanted to leave it open, whatever the chat wants to talk about. We have some ideas and thoughts. Sexuality in board games, I think, is interesting to me. I think there are different ways to approach it. One thing that we could talk about, this is kind of like a controversial thing, is like, is it okay for characters and people in board games to be drawn like sexy? Is it okay for them to be sexy, and is that inappropriate? And then should they, I mean, caveat to that is like people that are often portrayed, or genders that are often portrayed as like sexy, is that okay? Is it, do we want none of that? Do we want a little bit of that? When is it okay? What's the line? Like unrealistic armor and stuff like that for both, for any gender. So that's kind of the first thing that I thought about, and that's kind of, standard. So we certainly don't have to talk about that, but that's kind of one of the things that comes to mind for me. And I could tell you my opinion if you're interested, or can let Susan Mags go.
So, well, I'll pose a question. because I have tons of opinions about this.
Many opinions.
I have so many opinions. I consider myself a very sex positive individual. I believe in sexuality of all humans, and that those types of things should be talked about and acknowledged as part of the human existence. Here's the thing. Let's talk cheesecake art. When you have someone who is women or non-binary identifying, how okay is it for them to use sexuality in art when it comes to women?
That's what I was saying, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like, in your opinion, though, because women to me are kind of a marginalized thing, especially sexuality around women, like, how okay is that if someone identifies as a woman or non-binary and wants to use very cheesecake, very pinup, very sexualized art? Like, where is our line drawn, and why is it there? It's always interesting to me because, especially Kickstarter, I feel has opened this conversation up a lot wider in a good way, maybe, because you didn't have that before.
Yeah. So I do think it's okay for characters to be sexy in board games. I think that's okay. I think it's hard. It's definitely not black and white. Like, there's no hard line for me. Like, I can't just look at it and be like passing, like swipe. What is it? Tinder? Like not okay.
Swipe right, swipe
left, whatever. I'm such a loser. Now you all know. Yeah, I don't know. It's not. I can't just be like, not okay, not okay. Okay, that's fine, that's fine. You know, it's just really not like that. Like, I like to be. I mean, I want to be sexy, and I think that's okay to say. I don't want to be objectified. You know, I think it's okay for other people to think I'm sexy. I think it's okay for people that are not my partner to think I'm sexy. I think it's okay for people I don't know very well to think that I'm sexy. I think all of that is okay. That's me personally. I'm not saying that's okay for other people, by the way. But so I don't know. That's how I feel. I think that those things are okay in board games to have. It's just this weird, like, is that, and I don't even want to say, is that the focus? Because I think that sometimes it's okay to be the focus. I think it's just intent and like what you want to do, what point you want to come across, how aware you are of like issues and things going on in the world, you know.
Well, I think that kind of hits on an area for me because, you know, I'm older than both of you significantly.
Not significantly.
It's questionable.
Hold
questionable.
I'm like a decade older than you.
Barely.
Still, you know, and I have 2 kids and all this other stuff, and not that kids influence it, but like I'm in very much the same vein. Like I talk a lot online about representation and diversity and inclusion, and oftentimes it comes back on me that I'm somehow anti-sex or anti-nudity or anti-body or whatever, and that's actually not the point. And I think Stephanie really hit on one of the things for me is it's not necessarily about the actual image, although there was once this one game where it was like the violence against the women characters was so abhorrent.
Oh my god, was it Opie Go? Because my god, Opie Go.
Not that one actually. It was a different one. It was like
the island.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. Oh yeah. I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah.
But
we just named 3 different examples.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Like boom, boom, boom. Right.
Yeah.
It's really about context and consideration and thought. And I feel like in a hobby that's evolved over the past 50 years out of, you know, very male dominated segment that carries that kind of baggage, that a lot of things are just done because that's always how they've been done, because it's the easy thing to do and you don't even question it. You don't even think about it. And that's the status quo. And you know what? Like, there are probably a lot of games where sexiness in a woman character is appropriate, or a certain kind of role for the women characters or female characters are appropriate. But there's a lot of times it's not. And, you know, I think about some of these games that have minis, and a lot of like minis are often notorious for, you know, tit armor and things like that are just ridiculous. And, depending on the context, it might be okay. But I feel like so many of those choices are made by publishers just because that's how they do it. And they know it sells and they're happy with that. And, I get challenged online when I talk about this and they're like, well, can you prove that if you had more inclusive imagery, it would improve sales? Because that's all it's about. That's all publishers care about is making money. So unless you can prove it's going to make more money by covering up the tits or having more female characters, shut up. And I'm like, well, I think there's plenty of evidence that shows that being inclusive and providing a more rich tapestry of options in games, one, existing gamers doesn't mean they won't buy it. They might love it. You're not giving them the opportunity or the market choice. And two, it opens you up to different markets that wouldn't buy the Armor games anyway. But all of a sudden you have a similar game that's to their taste is more welcoming.
It's also just a smarter world. It's 2016 and those same marketing tactics, some of them still work on some people, but our universe as a whole is just smarter than that. Like we aren't sold to as easily at all. There's so much, like you can't just be like, smoke this cigarette and you'll be sexy. Like, oh, I didn't know that. Cool. I'll do that. Like you can't do that anymore. You have to be smarter. You have to use an internet meme, really. Probably.
Memes fix everything. That's my primary form of communication.
Yeah.
But like
cats are the new sex cells. Cats sell. Come on.
Mags, what are you gonna say?
Well, and 6 months ago, I might have agreed with this line of thinking.
Okay.
Like, it's 2016. We have gotten past Luckies will make you cooler.
I don't think we've gotten past it.
No,
but,
well, so the current, and this might be the point where you kick me off the Twitch. The current political climate has shown me a different world than I thought I was living in. I'm not even joking. I did not think that the current front runners for presidency would exist in 2016. I did not think that the line of thinking and the way that people are marketing to middle America and kind of the disenfranchised people, I did not think that still existed in the way that it does. And I am not trying to say that people are not well informed, because I feel like people are informed in lots of different ways. But I do feel that a candidate who is blatantly sexist and racist coming to power in a time like 2016 where we have the internet at our fingertips and we have video feeds and we have audio feeds of people being what they are, shows me that a group of individuals with different beliefs than I thought existed in mass exists. So I worry that my work toward inclusivity is moot. I worry that I'm talking to the niche of the niche, and I thought that we existed already in a niche, but I worry now that it's bigger. It's a smaller percentage of humans than I thought it was.
Yeah.
And
go ahead.
Like, do people actually care anymore? Like, do people give a fuck if inclusivity and diversity is represented in their gaming? Because in the wider scale, they don't. I don't know.
I don't think it's fair to say they don't. I do think, and we've had this conversation before, like talking to the people in the 27 or whatever people that are in chat right now likely feel similar how we do about having a mindfulness about inclusivity and diversity in games. And that's why we haven't just talked extensively about it, because we would just be talking to our friends that
don't need to preach to the choir, right?
Right. Well, and we're not preaching anyway, but it's like
I have the ballot in my hand today, and it struck me.
I know.
Like,
I think there's
why
still
am I even fucking
purpose.
voting?
I think you should still be who you are. I think that there's a purpose. I do understand that you're discouraged about that stuff, but that is all the more reason why we have something like Meeples included, and all the more reason why we do have these discussions, even amongst our friends on occasion. I don't think we have to exhaust the topic. I don't want to talk about it all of the time. I just don't.
No.
But, you know, we just, whatever. We also want to talk about cocaine and Axl Rose, too. I mean...
Oh,
so,
Axl,
you know.
oh, baby. Baby didn't need that hair. So here's the thing with Axl Rose. I feel so bad because I feel like
the rocks right now.
No. Axl Rose, poor baby Axl Rose. He went through like 20 years of people telling him he needed to put out the best album that has ever happened. So Chinese Democracy, like that is a product of self-hate and body dysmorphia and like really bad cornrows.
I know.
Man. It's so bad.
So terrible.
But I feel bad. I don't feel like making fun of him. Because the guy had talent. The guy was charismatic and wonderful. And then we ruined him. The viewers. So
Hey, I'm a child of the 80s. I was all about GNR in like 6th grade and 5th grade. You know,
right.
I mean,
but now,
when you were
we have done
diapers.
this to Axl. Our culture has done this to Axl.
Well, and you know, I think that's I you know, this is about sex, but I mean, I think that it's a good point that the culture that we're talking about, Mags, about, you know, how women or non-binary people are represented in games. I mean, it has a negative impact on men as well, and you know, people who identify as male. And we don't. And I think there are elements out there that are complete assholes, and they kind of turn the representation discussion on itself, and they're like we have pain too, right? Like your pain doesn't matter because we have pain too. And I really struggle to communicate with those people. But I do understand that like our culture, it's not just about me being frustrated that I never see Asian women in games. Not never. Somebody's going to get me like, oh, the pandemic has a female Asian doctor. I know, like I'm very aware of this, but like really percentage wise, like if you're going to see an Asian woman in the game, she's going to be wearing a kimono, right? Or she's going to be, you know, carrying a samurai sword or whatever. You know, I have those frustrations, but the same culture that creates that scenario for me creates a really weird sense of like masculinity and manhood and aggression that applies pressure on men too. And, you know, a lot of people say, well, look at that guy, like his body's just as unrealistic because he has 22 abdominal muscles. And you know what? You're right. I don't disagree with you. And I'm not sitting there going, it's fine for men to be represented that way and not fine for women to be represented that way. And so I think it's fair to ask for that conversation to be looped in to the bigger conversation. But it's also one of those things where as men are not the marginalized segment in gaming traditionally. And so finding the right times and the right ways to incorporate that, I think is far more healthy and productive than some of the kind of not all men stomping that happens.
Well, and anyone in the chat that has a not all men, not all people type of mentality, I welcome you to privately conversate with me about that perspective. When someone says Black Lives Matter and someone else says all lives matter, the difference between those two things in my mind is great. So if you don't see the difference, if you can't find the difference between those two ideas, I strongly encourage you to reach out privately to have a conversation. If you want to have it publicly, well, then you're asking for the public at large to have a conversation with you, and I don't think you're going to learn as much as you think you are. I don't think you're reaching out to learn anything at that point. But if you would like to have a conversation, I encourage you to reach out to one of us privately.
Yeah, and we definitely don't want to discourage discussion. Like, discussion is open. Are we always going to be in the mood to have that discussion? Like, maybe not, but I certainly welcome it and will not shut it down. And we all feel the same, the three of us, I think, feel the same about this. I don't want to say all, because I don't want to speak for anyone in chat. I have not looked at every single name in chat, so I don't want to say that. But I know that a lot of Rockstar Supervillain, hey, it's awesome. Sorry. Like, perfect for our show tonight.
Well, they're gone though.
Yeah. Oh, they left?
Yeah, they feel like we're talking about politics, not board games. So.
Okay. Well, that's fine. Yeah, that's totally fine. The title is like Sex, Drugs, Rock, Roll, but yeah, I mean, we don't certainly have to talk about that, but I'm not going to say like, oh my gosh, we can't talk about that because that's controversial. I'm also not talking about it just because it's controversial. It just kind of naturally came up in conversation, and this is a live show, and the three of us plus Nicole and anyone else we have on the show are open to talking about whatever. So we could certainly move on though.
Well, but just to go back to what I was trying to say earlier is like, I'm with Mags. Like, I'm pro-sex, I'm pro-body positivity. I have no objection to people being presented in games in a, like, emphasizing their bodies. I just want, like what we say about Meeples Included. Like, I want it to be about mindfulness. And when you have games about fantasy battle or about sci-fi, like there's some sci-fi game, and I remember, and somebody in the chat will know which one I'm talking about, right? But the characters are in these mech suits, right? And they're these rad sci-fi mech suits. And it's like, yeah, we're going to get in mech suits. We're going to beat the shit out of each other. This is rad, right? But the women characters were nude in their mech suits and their bodies were fully exposed. And the male characters in their mech suits were fully, were covered. And in a sci-fi battle game that has nothing to do with, like, human interaction or sex or civility, like, what are we doing there? Like, really? Like, come on. Now, and then there was a game called Lap Dance, right? That all I said about, I remember when Lap Dance came out, I said, that theme isn't for me. And I got jumped on. Like, people wrote blog posts about it. And all I said was, it's not for me. And I wasn't condemning it. I wasn't calling for it to be banned or anything like that. But Lap Dance is a perfect example of a game where it's about a strip club. That's a game where I would expect to see imagery representing, like, nudity and body positivity and things like that. My problem with Lap Dance is that it had the black male character was dressed up in African tribal garb, and the Asian woman was dressed like a geisha. And then they're like, well, that's what they do in strip clubs because it pulls on tropes, and that's what people go. I'm like, whatever, don't talk to me anymore. But like, that's a perfect example. It's more adult, like, it's an adult theme, right? We can agree strip clubs would be an adult theme. You don't necessarily play that with your 12-year-old. And that's a perfect example of game where you understand why there's nudity and things like that. It makes sense in that venue.
Yeah, and if it's okay for someone to like that game, it should be okay for someone to not like that game. Like, I cannot like it, a game about agriculture, because if I don't want to, I do like plenty of games about agriculture, but if I don't care for beer, brew crafters might not be my thing. Coffee roaster, like, maybe
don't you say anything bad about Coffee Roaster. I know you love that game.
I know. I'm just saying. What if? It should be okay.
You can't go hypothetical on that, Stephanie. It hurts. Like, there's just boundaries. There are lines you don't cross.
I know, and she's kidding. P.S. But it should be okay to not like the game just as much as it is okay to like the game.
So with Lap Dance, my biggest problem with Lap Dance,
I think we should move on after this. We'll move on to something else.
Okay.
Sure. Well, Lap Dance had 2 layers. It was in development as Lap Dance for a long time. And the game itself was more of a stock kind of manipulation. It was a deeper game. And then when they wanted to put it to market, Artipia made it into a kind of basic hand management, cheesy card game that they could market for $30. And for me, there's nothing worse, and this is going to sound really bad, than a cheapening of a sexual-based game. So they put lap dance out as like that medium lightweight sell to anyone type of game, sell on its own like controversy. And when anyone raised a fuss, they used the fuss to further the game. That bugs me.
Right.
If you want to put something out with a controversial theme, which I encourage anyone to talk about controversial themes or to investigate controversial themes, like talking about that stuff is important, and talking about the issues around it is important. But lap dance literally was the first time I've seen in hobby market games someone trying to use controversy to further sales. It's the first time I can think of it, at least. And every single blog post was quoting someone on how controversial it was, and then talking about why it wasn't controversial, and talking about the fact that they had equal parts male and female representation in their strippers. And I would love a actual simulation of a strip club when it comes to like economy and working money and how things actually work within strip clubs. But this is just a very simple resource management game. I was very frustrated with that campaign and the way that they used their controversy to further their dollars. It was kind of like a strip club. But overall, I felt that they weren't using the sexuality against the game, but they were certainly using those types of politics against the game.
Here's the neat and interesting thing, and this is literally what it all boils down to. It is okay for mags to think that. It's okay for someone to feel differently. It is okay. It is all okay. Mags can feel that way. She is allowed to feel that way. Suze is allowed to feel the way that she feels. I'm allowed to feel the way that I feel. That's the thing. Party on and be excellent to each other. That is the message. That's the thing. Like, people should not attack people for, I think this is okay, and people should not attack people for, I think this is not okay. I think that both scenarios are not necessarily appropriate unless we are personally attacking each other. And then I think that's not okay, because I think that we should all be friends and just love each other. So that's how I feel. I want us all to be sunshine and roses. So sex aside, gosh, I wish we'd talked about the fun sex.
Fun sex. Let's talk about fun sex. Well, wait,
let's talk about drugs. So Tony Miller said there aren't that many games with drugs in them. You right, but you not right. You not wrong. There are some. Stoner Flux, right?
Pot Farm.
It's about weed.
Weed Wars, Pot Farm.
Pot Farm. It does seem to be predominantly about marijuana, and let's talk about that, because why is there not what's up on like hallucinogenics? Why is that not? Acid is, underplayed, underrepresented. Mags is showing a button. I don't know. I'm gonna put a thing on it.
So recently I backed a Kickstarter because I had extra dollars that month. It's called Telepathic Training Wheels. Me and Chris Darden are the only ones in my feed, which is at least 100 people at this point, that backed this Kickstarter. And it's just a math-based psychology game, but it's done by a stoner. It's got to be a stoner because it's just crazy. It's all made by crazy. So weed becomes the thing that people can make games about, because weed...
Yes, link all your weed games, chat.
Yes.
Link all the drug games.
But of all the drugs, weed is universally accepted as one of the few that is the least damaging to humans. And as a human that grew up in Humboldt County,
alcohol, right?
Well, I grew up in Humboldt County, and I knew a lot of burnouts. So I knew a lot of people that moved to Humboldt County to get stoned and go to Humboldt University. So I saw a lot of the worst part of weed. But I also saw how, like, people that just do that, it doesn't affect their everyday. LSD is something that most people have anecdotes about, but they don't do on a regular basis. Mushrooms are the same way. And anything harder than that,
What if we had morals? What if morals was rethemed instead of like cooking? Right, like because you're
all
cooking.
they have to do was eat a mushroom at the beginning, and they don't actually have to go to the woods. They just had to feel.
And then at the end of the game, plot twist: you didn't really cook any mushrooms. You both are just sitting there tripping out the whole time.
then the game becomes your trip sitter. Like, who did the best job of taking care of you while you were out?
Third player
Trip
variant.
Sitter the game? Mags, did you just come up with Trip Sitter the game?
Yeah, third player variant for Morals, the hallucinogenics game. Elaki said Morals rethemed into Morals, M-O-R-A-L.
Whoa!
This has nothing to do with morals. Stoner Flux should not have any gold cards, is what the Angry Scooter says.
Hello, I'm sorry, but you're wrong. Because like getting more snacks would clearly be inappropriate.
Does anyone know the story of Looney Labs? Like, does everyone know the story of how they became?
It's story time now.
Okay, so
Circle round, children. Circle round.
Circle round, everybody. Grab your mushrooms.
Find a square on the carpet.
Games on the shrooms tonight. Not really.
No.
Well, so Andy and Kristen Looney were at a outdoor concert. Andy Looney was working for NASA, and they were tripping in the woods. And he saw, he was tripping balls at this point. And he saw the pyramids coming down at him to tell him about a board game. So literally, because of this trip out, he quit his job at NASA to go become a game designer. And that's how pyramids came about.
Pyramids.
Well, really? No, the pyramids are my favorite thing about Looney Labs, and I love them, and Arcade is coming out any day now.
I'm so excited.
So, Zendo is my favorite. Martian chess is amazing, and Pyramid anything is great. So, I love that he took a chance on like this weird mushroom LSD trip out that he was having in the middle of the woods, and he went and became a game designer. So
and he was like, and I'll call it Looney Labs, right?
Yeah, right.
Totally appropriate. So Tunes, this little tidbit dropped. Drinking Flux is coming out next year.
I'm disappointed because there's like suddenly drunk Quest, drunk something, and Looney. Whatever drunk. Everything is coming out with a drunk game now.
Well, yeah, but I mean, come on, that's fine. That's fine.
But you can drink and play any game. I drink and play Terra Mystica, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, but come on, don't begrudge people their fun. That's okay.
I'm not.
They're into it. They're into it.
I have to pay for that. You can just pay for the regular game and then enjoy it either sober or drunk.
Apparently, just tune into Games on the Rocks. I love that bracelet. Did anyone get that? Where'd you get it?
I have
Mean Girls. Mean Girls quote. Mean Girls quote.
Oh, I don't remember that one.
Oh no! And
she compliments, and that's the compliment. That's not really. I love that because people really do that in real life. They say I love that X, and they really mean I noticed that thing that you're wearing. That's what they really mean. Like you're wearing like a bright neon bow. I love that bow. What they really mean is I noticed that bow. Anyway, yeah. So what everyone drink because I quoted
did.
It. Yeah.
Well, I think that one of the things with like these drinking games or pot games or whatever, and maybe even the element of like sex or why we see certain representations of people in games. It feels like, everybody talks about games as an escape. Like hardcore gamers talk about games as an escape. And so they kind of use it as their fantasy. And then you throw in like alcohol or drugs and it becomes not taboo, but like all of a sudden it becomes a little more naughty or just a little more edgy. And, it's now all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's a game about drinking and and that's like they associate drinking or drugs with relaxation and with fun and with good times, and then you combine that with the fun and good times of games. But I also think like to some degree, and this may sound really like weird, but like it also has to like that's kind of an outcropping of like some of like especially in America, maybe it's different in Europe and Asia, but like just kind of like our culture's repression, like kind of the like drinking's and smoking's and then all of a sudden you can do it and you feel like you're a wild child and you're so rebellious and you're having fun and you can be wild. And I think also I think some people feel empowered to do things that they want to do but they wouldn't normally do because it wouldn't be accepted or whatever by their peer group and or maybe the law, I don't know. And it kind of feels like if we could be kinder to each other in every day, some of the naughty factor of some of these games would be lessened, right? You just wouldn't feel the same way about it because it's not as edgy all of a sudden. But that could just be me. And apparently it is just me.
I don't condone drinking.
You just represent it.
So here's my thing. So I have these companies sending prototypes to the store. There was a game a while back that was about ninjas, and each of the characters would be out on the board and they would go and do ninja type stuff. But the female character, the literal only thing you could see from her that was in white, that was not dark, was her cleavage. And for me, I don't mind sexuality in gaming. I actually encourage, a sex-positive gaming experience is always encouraged in my mind. But for me, that was frustrating because you would line up the minis. They were pre-painted, pre-assembled minis, and all you could see was cleavage because it was the one thing that stood out in 6 different minis. And the other games that represent a more sex-positive attitude are on the more swingy side of that. And I admit that I am fully on the more swingy side of this, but Tentacle Bento does not describe my sexuality very well. But it does
Tentacle Bento.
But it does describe a more sexual positive side of women and gaming and sexuality, right?
They into it.
Those are people that understand that women like sex and want to talk about those types of things. It doesn't describe my sexuality, but at least it does something. At least it describes something about people empowered. I get so frustrated. There's no middle ground. There's only Tentacle Bento all the way to Ninja All-Stars. Those are, it's the double-sided coin. And after that, all you have are bored people in Europe. In Eurogames, you have wives or daughters that you marry off to people for resources, and that's what you have. You don't have anything else in the middle. And when you have something like Monarch, which was designed by Mary Flanagan, which is 3 sisters trying to take over a kingdom, there is absolutely zero sexuality in the game because she wanted to whitewash it is the word I'm using. I know that's the wrong word, but she wanted to take sexuality out of the picture and have those 3 sisters competing over the kingdom just by their strength and tenacity only. And I think I've yet to see games fully encompass women and all of their behavior and all of their self to use sexuality as part of their being, but not in a cheesecake way. I'm waiting for that.
I think there are plenty of games that do that well. I think there are plenty of games that don't do that.
Well, I also think that when I talk,
I'm not saying there's enough, but I think there's plenty.
When I talk about representation and diversity on online, I get a lot of people seem to miss the nuance of I'm not calling out one game. We're talking about a whole and contributions to the bigger picture. And so, Mags, when you're talking about you want to see more games that represent that, I also and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but to me, it's not about one game can't solve that. You can't find one game that represents. Not that you can't.
If I could, I would love that.
Right. But my expectation or hope wouldn't be, I want one game that represents every gender, and I want one game that and in that same game you have to represent every race and every culture and every kind of relationship. And then that's the only kind of game I'll accept. And that's totally not the point. That's totally not my point. But it is individual games slowly contribute to a whole, right? And people, as just like that's how anything changes, is gradually and through smaller changes throughout. So, you know, having more games slowly, like for example, I'm just going to show Capital Lux, for example. I mean, let's not always be naked, right? Capital Lux, this isn't about sex because there's no sexuality, but there's one character, a character that looks like she's a woman, a character that looks like he's a non-white male, a character that looks like he's a white male with a very lush beard, so sexy, and then another character that looks like they're represented as female. So you have 4 characters. You have maybe, I mean, one of them's a little ambiguous, so I mean, maybe half of them are not white and half of them are not male. Done. Like, you have a game that has tried to make an effort to be more inclusive and more diverse and representative, and that is awesome. Like, I'm not expecting more than that from any single game, but I don't think also decisions like this, I don't think this happens without somebody who's putting thought into it and being conscientious of it. So when you're talking about sex positivity in games or things like that, Mags, the way I interpret what you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that you're looking for, like, we just want more en masse because all those contributions, all those individual contributions will create the bigger picture.
Right. And here's the thing, the number of people I see that, so very recently a pretty well-known game designer was like, I don't know how to make my game more diverse because it's, you know, in a period of a time that was very like white male oriented. And most of the people in my private life said, well, F it, just make it more multicultural. Like, just do that. And publicly, most people were like, well, just change the theme. I think both of those are correct. Like, if you have a theme that doesn't work well to make it diverse, change it. And if you want to keep that theme, then just go not historically correct. Because you know what historically correct means? White man keeping everybody down for a lot of years. So I don't understand why you want to keep that going. I do not understand who you are trying to appeal to by keeping that perfect and correct other than other white men. And I don't think most of them are not going to complain if you just put someone of color or a woman in charge.
And we don't even have to talk about it every time. We could just do it. We don't even have to have a discussion. Let's just do it.
Just do it.
Absolutely. Yeah,
no one's
like,
going to care.
I don't want to have a discussion about it all the time. So we should just do it. Like, I just am a gamer. I'm not a girl gamer. I'm just a gamer. So one of the other things we want to talk about was, well, the overall thing was like sex, drugs, rock and roll. Like, those are quote unquote adult themes. So my FLGS, and this was my doing, this is what I wanted, has a separate shelf and the only reason we call it the adult theme section is because that is a universally understood and accepted term for most people that is not offensive or exclusive, right? So we have that section so that families that come in can know, like, they can make that decision. Do I want my whoever's in my family, like whoever that may be, whether they're an adult or not, like, do I want them to be over in that section? So it's just like one shelf, and it has games that you would imagine on it. Some of them, the adult theme is like overtly sexual, or some of it is just overtly violent. And those are things that we're not necessarily trying to make a judgment on. We are just trying to make a guess at what things, what would make the most people the most comfortable when they walk into the store. And having that stuff, like, as a retailer, you don't want to put stuff behind the counter, right? There's this weird, like, ooh, can we see what's behind the counter? There is that weird, like, marketing thing, but I think you can have that same effect by having that shelf. And just being in an area that's not like widely looked around or like walked around. So that's what we do at my FLGS. But I'm curious, I've seen some people in the chat, they say that they're behind the counter. So that's interesting. You know, I don't know how that works. Like, I'm the kind of person, like, I don't know what to ask for. So I wouldn't want to be like, do you have this? I would just want to see it. So if they maybe had like a list or like I have these games, or I would just kind of want to see them all. So if it was somewhere where I could see it, I think that would be cool as a customer. But yeah, just like how does the chat feel about adult themed games, and what that means? And someone said define adult themed games. I mean, you define it.
Define it.
We have to as a retailer label games. We have to have some semblance of an order to games. You could just have your games in alphabetical order. You could just have them in totally random order. That's not easy for your staff, though, and that's not easy when you're trying to tell someone, oh, you like this game, then you might also enjoy this game. Categories exist for retail for a reason. So, it's, calling a game a strategy game, that may be inaccurate. Calling a game an adult game, that may be inaccurate. But regardless of the label, like adult theme is probably not the only label that's like, is it adult theme? I don't know. Is it a strategy game? I don't know. Like they all employ strategy, right? For some of them, for the most part. So, like we have a family game section. Does that mean that other games outside of that section can't be played with a family? No. Like we have these categories to make it easy for people that walk in there. But you're right. Elaki brings up a good point. Target has, code names Deep Undercover or whatever. What is that?
Right. And isn't that an interesting side effect of like this mass market move, is that, a game store will understand the content of the games that they're putting on the shelf and make whatever decisions they want to, Steph, whether it's behind the counter or whether they're grouped together or whether they're not, but they're going to make a decision with some understanding of what the content of the game is. But I wonder and although you have to give, kudos to Target and Walmart's buying department for recognizing, the growing game market and things like that. You just kind of wonder, like, do the employees know what's in these games? And like, they don't, right? And do they understand what they're selling? And the shelving.
I mean, I don't want to say that they don't. I don't want to say they don't. I don't know.
The odds are en masse, and quite frankly, individual stores don't make shelving strategies, right? That's all handled by corporate. And so, like, do the three corporate people that represent like the shelving strategies understand Gidget's always welcome here? Understand what they're putting on the shelves. And Eric pointed out, like on Target, they're all just mixed in, like a lot of times with
and the back of
light games, and it's
the back
weird.
of code names, the not safe for work version basically has some terms that some people might consider inappropriate. But I mean, are there probably other things in Target that some people might consider inappropriate? Probably. I mean, the book section probably has some kind of like adult themed books. Barnes and Noble probably has that too, I think it's an interesting thing to talk about. So someone brings up Sylvan Johnson, Murder. So agree. So there are lots of games that have essentially like defeat, war, battle, stuff like that. And again, I'm not here to say what is adult themed and what is not, but when you kind of just have to make that decision as a retailer on, I need to put this in a different section. And again, there's no loss to that game. Like people that are looking for that, like some people think that's cool. Like I bought this from the adult game section, I mean, so there is like some appeal for some people actually shopping from that section. And then the people that are like, nope, I definitely don't want anything that would be considered adult. And if they're curious, if they're like, well, you know what, their idea of adult might be different than mine, I want to go check that out. Like you're basically putting it on the onus on the customer. Like you make that decision. Like we're not going to put this in your face. I'm not going to put this word or image or graphic or, theme in your face and you have to see it. You have to make that decision. Like, I want to see that. Yes. So that's what retailers are doing by having like a separate section for adult themed games. I mean, and I think we have like Exploding Kittens there. We have Drunk Quest there, because technically you have to be an adult to drink legally. So that makes sense. Cards
what
Against
is-
Humanity there.
What does Card Kingdom do for that?
So Card Kingdom, and this is separate from me. So Card Kingdom as a whole is represented by two very young families. So two gentlemen that have wives and very, very young children. So in general, we don't carry anything that's too controversial. And I'll put that in the broadest terms, except Cards Against Humanity we were one of the first stores that they sold directly to. So we've had Cards Against Humanity since they have been available to stores. So we've always had this very family-friendly focus, except we've sold Cards Against Humanity since it was available. So it's really weird to try and like shore that up, right? So I have Cards Against Humanity, I have Exploding Kittens, I have Kids in a Blender. And when someone like Catalyst comes to me and wants to sell me, not Catalyst, Cherry Pick Games, wants to sell me Drunk Quest, and I'm like, I'm sorry, we don't really want to encourage drinking games. They have some room to say, but you sell Cards Against Humanity, you sell Exploding Kittens, and we haven't really come up with a really good line for that. Cards Against Humanity were friends of ours. The people behind that were friends of the people behind Card Kingdom for a very long time. And the way that they decided to do business was to choose maybe 15, 16 stores US-wide to sell to. And then Exploding Kittens used the exact same list of stores to sell to, making it kind of exclusive, but not really. It's an odd market. It's an odd place to be in. I'm not sure where I feel about it. But as far as me representing my store, I'm like, oh, well, the greatest percentage of sales we had this year was probably Cards Against Humanity. And if it wasn't Cards Against Humanity, it was Codenames, and then it was damn close to being Cards Against Humanity. Codenames did very well for us, and Check Games is doing real well, everybody. But as far as Cards Against Humanity and Secret Hitler, whenever that comes out, will do very, very well in the market. I will tell you right now that I wish that Secret Hitler was a different theme, and I don't want to sell it at all.
So there actually are several different rethemes that you can get. One of them is a Santa theme, and one of them, there are a couple of others. So,
and I 0% care because the way that they sold it was on Hitler, and I know.
I'm just presenting. I know. I understand that for you. I am presenting that option for people that don't care for the theme, but do care for the mechanicisms of the game and want to play the game. And those options are available for you.
Mechanicisms just happened. Hold on.
And you can find them on Board Game Geek. Is that a drink? Is that a drink now when I say mechanicism? Just said it again.
Sister.
I get really, really pissed off that my store is so about inclusivity and so about bringing in people, and then they're like, oh, a game about Hitler, sure. Like, okay, it makes money, right? Everybody? Okay, we're cool with that.
So we're definitely over time.
Oh, yeah.
I think we have a lot of viewers still, and I'm good to keep talking, but I will say personally, if we could move on, that would make me happy. If we could just like get on to something else, like talk about this game.
What would you like to talk
Well,
about?
can I also ask a Secret Hitler question real quick? What's up with the box?
Yeah.
What's up with the box size?
Well, question.
So weird.
Question.
Who made that
How
choice?
many there's a deluxe version and a regular version.
Okay, because I saw it at a cafe, at Game Cafe.
Because like,
and it was like freaking like it
well,
looked like
I
a
guess I'm
Hasbro
confused.
box.
I guess I'm confused because I thought there was two versions, and I'm actually not positive if there are or not. SSG Paul says about Axl Rose. You go on about Axl Rose. Yeah. So yeah, are there two versions? Could someone clarify in chat? Is there? I don't know. I've honestly never played the game because I don't have the desire to play the game. I'm not like vividly, wildly against it. It's just, not for me. I have other games like hidden roll deduction games that I love and enjoy and would play. Actually, I have several of them. So I really have too many. That's not a gap that I need to fill in my game collection.
So Eric Lackey says the deluxe version is just a box the box goes in, which...
Okay, well, but it's like a big
really long
thing, right?
this way.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Wooden
It's super
box.
long.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that makes sense. So, but you don't have to buy that. You could just buy like the regular game. Or whatever.
My information is that I will not have that for retail until next year spring. So
Yeah.
Wow. Oh,
a
that's
secret.
interesting. Huh. Okay.
It's a secret to everyone.
I don't know if that was secret. I don't know. I don't think so.
It's not a secret.
Ooh,
I know.
dropping
I
the
was just saying that 'cause
secrets.
I was just saying that because of secret.
I never know if what I know is secret or not, like, unless people tell me. If you tell me something and it's supposed to be secret, you should tell me that.
Yeah. Good tip. Good tip. If you say a thing to me, you should tell me it's a secret, or I'm going to put it on any number of the live video casts that I help produce.
Right? Like, that's a thing. I do a lot of live stuff. I just need to know if I'm not supposed to talk about stuff.
You could just play Two Rooms and a Boom. Two Rooms and a Boom. I mean, it's different. It's different. It is a hidden role game. I like Two Rooms and a Boom. I think it's a fun game. It's fun with lots of people. Actually, so on the adult theme, we have an adult game night at my friendly local game store once a month, which I host. And it's interesting, and this is kind of part of why I wanted to talk about this. Thank you, Tony. I'm glad someone gets my Zelda references. Drink when I make a Zelda reference. I'm playing through Wind Waker on the Wii U, by the way. So we have an adult game night, and it's tomorrow, actually. And oftentimes people will say immediately, like, oh, let's play blah, blah, blah game, which is like, could be considered an adult-themed game. And it's funny because I consider these as also opportunities that you can play like Yokohama. You know what I mean? Like, these are also like games that might not hold the attention of a younger crowd. I'm speaking in generalizations, and I'm not trying to leave anyone out, because I know like 8-year-olds that like would love Yokohama. So I'm speaking in generalizations, but I'm not trying to be offensive or leave anyone out. So I think of those types of things. I'm actually like, cool, like, and you can BYOB at the store. So I'm like, cool, we can like have a brew, and we can play, the Resistance. And then there's usually like a ton of people there. So we can play Two Rooms and a Boom. And there's like, 40 people in a Two Rooms and a Boom game, which is hard to coordinate, on your own. So adult game night for me basically means scared Gidget. No, Gidget's not scared. Gidget just wants attention. Like,
She's
real
just
bad.
opinionated.
She's very. Actually, Cashmere was up here earlier, but no. So adult game night for me is really just a reason to like have a brew, and it's like this, but like playing games basically. So I don't necessarily think like, let's play an adult themed game just because it's an adult game night. We do have to call it that because we have to check IDs, and we can only let people in that are 21 or older.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
how do they
and
manage
it's
that?
very
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
it's very weird. So yeah, no, you might be asking the question I'm about to address. So we have like Magic the Gathering events, and those sanctioned events have very specific rules on alcohol and alcohol being present. Now, whether or not all game stores follow those rules or not, or like, I don't know the deal, but we very strictly follow those rules at Game Goblins in Little Rock, Arkansas. So we are finishing that event, and then there's a like resting period, and then starting this event, and like no alcohol is allowed inside of the store until this event starts and this other event is completely over. So there's very strict rules, on Wizards of the Coast, as far as I understand it, has strict rules on like booze and even sportsmanship. Like, they have lots of rules on everything, actually. So.
Well, you can't do anything over casual with alcohol involved, and you're not supposed to even do casual REL without very, very strict sanctions, and I
What's
feel that.
REL?
Well, regulated rules. So there are different levels of regulated rules,
Yeah.
and even in casual REL, which is like the bottom tier, where you're like, oh, you forgot to do your triggered event. Oh, you should probably just do that now. You cannot have alcohol, and you can't do that anywhere near streaming on the internet. So I totally feel that, because both my stores feel that, but a lot of stores don't care.
Yeah, I hear there's some that don't follow that, but
You have to, if you have like a big enough presence like Game Goblins or Card Kingdom, you just have to care. And
yeah. Well, I mean, you should care anyway, but
So how do they handle it? I don't, maybe I should be familiar with these rules and I'm not, but like BGG Con, how do they, like, can people bring booze into the game room? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, that's why they did BGG Fam, because people can bring their younger children. But is the age limit for BGG 12 or 16?
12. I think you have to be at least 12, right?
Okay. So if Eric Martin's still on the chat, he would know probably.
He's asleep now. But it's more like if you're doing a sanctioned tournament.
Aldi's still in. I don't know if Aldi's watching or not, but
it doesn't really matter if you're just playing Magic, but if you're playing any type of tournament or any type of competition,
where you have to like report those results back to Wizards of the Coast,
gotcha,
and use someone's ID and stuff like that. So if people are just playing, then whatever, they can do whatever they want, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if it's a sanctioned event and you're reporting it and you have like scheduled time and because all of that stuff matters to Wizards of the Coast. So
things I am learning. How interesting. Eric Martin.
Eric goes, I just show up at the cons. I'm not responsible for the rules, so I don't know them.
Eric, stop writing the rules. Stop it.
Eric is the best. We say that like
all the time.
Stream. I know. Actually, I mean all of our chat is the best.
Yeah, all the time.
All of our chat is the best. Thank you, Mavalert. BGG Con is 12 and up. Yes, that's what I thought.
That's nice.
Nicholas has super.
But I try to like call people out. I've said this before. I try to call people out by their Twitch username so that other people know who I'm talking about.
I don't have that. Yes, that's a good reminder. I forget.
So they bound on to Nick.
So even if I know their actual name and your username is like not able to be pronounced by the human tongue, I will attempt to pronounce it. So.
So wait, who is going to keep me company on day 0 at BGG Con? Because this is my first day 0.
Oh.
Day 0 is Tuesday?
Mm-hmm.
I'm coming in at 7.
I will not be there till like late day 1.
Oh.
Yeah.
Boo.
This is my first day 0, and I'm hoping to like actually play games. That's my hope.
There's going to be a ton of people there. It won't be a problem.
We'll see. I have a ton of problem because my social anxiety gets me, but we'll see. Well,
no one without an appendix is allowed at BGG Con, so Doug Lewandowski is not allowed. He just had his appendix removed. Wow, that's a bummer.
Wait, without the appendix? Because I still have mine.
That's what he says. Yeah, without.
Vestigial organs is my thing.
That's fact.
Okay.
Oh, Eric's wife and son will be there.
Oh,
to be Eric Martin. Yeah.
But before BGG Con, what we have Extra Life coming up, right?
Yeah, let's talk about Extra Life. So Mags is one of the organizers of Extra Life stream in Seattle. Her and Aaron Dono, I don't know like who exactly does what, but they have different roles. And actually, I mean, Chris Rollins and lots of other people do too, but do Extra Life at, it'll be at Mox Boarding House, but it'll be on the Card Kingdom stream, right?
It'll be at
actually, we're doing it at Card Kingdom this year because there's something else going on at Mox.
So here's the deal.
Tell us the deal.
we're doing it at Card Kingdom because we did it at Mox one year, and the setup at Card Kingdom is better for it. It just is. It's like doing it in the conference room upstairs.
It was really nice. It was really lovely. I mean, it was my first time, but it was all really lovely.
So we are going to be set up in the conference room upstairs at Card Kingdom. And we're going to have fewer people than we had last year, but it's going to be closer to the first year we did it, which was amazing and magical and wonderful.
So amazing. And is not archived and is only in our memories and in our hearts. And if you joined us for that stream,
if you Google Onesie Parade, you can still see that on YouTube.
Bless you. Bless you. That was the start of my onesie obsession. That was where it was born.
Yeah.
My new onesie should be here any day.
I just got mine. I'm so excited.
You guys have new onesies?
I kind of feel like I need a new onesie for every Extra Life.
I want to wear your owl onesie then.
The wings get really bunchy under the underarms.
Do they?
Yeah.
I like it though.
I would lend it to you. I'm just saying, just be aware, a lot of armpit bunching.
Anthony W. Miller, I will pronounce whatever username you throw at me, okay?
What?
Maybe not correctly, but I will pronounce it. Extra Life. I'm so pumped about Extra Life. I have several things. So, oh my gosh. I wonder if I can show... I don't know if I can show this. I'm gonna try and do this while you guys talk. But so one of the things that I'm supposed to do, I'm still going through my awards from the last Extra Life. So I have to get a tattoo, an Extra Life tattoo, because I reached that award. I already dyed my hair, like all that stuff. So I had Noah Cohen, who actually is the top fundraiser of Extra Life. If you go to extra-life.org, Noah Cohen, who lives in Vermont and is the kid champion of the Vermont Hospital, is the top fundraiser right now with like over $100,000 or something ridiculous and insane. So he is adorable, and I got to go to Extra Life United tournament in February earlier this year, and I met Noah and like all of the other kid champions of North America, so like from all of the states and even Canada. And Noah is amazing, and we're boyfriend and girlfriend. We're going out. He told me, so I thought it would be a fun thing to do to wear my unicorn onesie. There's this like parade where all the kids walk by and we like cheer for them, and they're celebrities. They actually get the whole treatment. In the airports, they all go through the same like flight and airport, and there's like all this banners and stuff, like, and there's celebrities and like people clapped for them. It's in Orlando at the Disney Resort, and they're like cheering for them as they walk through. They are treated like just celebrities. It's really cool and amazing to watch because the kids like love it and eat it up. So I thought it would be a fun thing to wear my unicorn onesie during the parade and like, just be like a unicorn cheering on these kids. And then afterwards they are at these stations and they're giving autographs, and we have these books with their pictures and their stories, and we're like getting autographs from them. A lot of them have like stamps, so they're not actually having to sign over and over again and stuff like that, but they have like buttons and stuff that they give you. I got a picture with each one of them and their autograph. And Noah, whenever I came up to him, he goes, I am terrified of unicorns. And I thought he was kidding. And I said, no, you're not terrified of unicorns. And he said, and his parents were like, oh no, he's terrified of unicorns. And he said, but you are the most beautiful unicorn that I've ever seen.
Aww. And
I am not scared of you. And he was super cute, and we bonded. And then afterwards we all get to play board games and video games together. And they have like all these Xboxes and PlayStations and PCs and board games set up. And so we have to do all that. And so I played a lot with Noah Cohen and Michelle Morrow. I don't know if you know her. She's like kind of a big deal from Geek and Sundry, and now is like producing a movie about esports and gaming. Anyway, so cute and adorable, and I love him. And long story short, I had him fill in a meeple for me, like color it in. And that is the tattoo that I'm going to be placing on my body. And he drew 2 of them, and one of them is a rendering of me as a unicorn. And I'll pull it up as soon as one of you else start talking.
Okay, but So who are you gonna get to do the tattoo? Do you have an artist in mind?
So I don't know. So I could either get it done at BGG Con, like we did for the first tattoo that
Right.
we did, not Sue's. Sue's dyed her hair. But you,
Still legit.
me,
Still
Kyle,
legit.
Brittany Bo, totally legit.
That was with Tiff the first
Tiffany.
year. Okay.
Yeah, and Tiffany Karas. We all got tattoos the first year, and I'm getting this other one too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, because we could probably message. So full disclosure, 2 of my best tattoos are from my brother-in-law Drew. He is a tattoo artist out in Dallas at Allegiance Tattoo. But we should talk to him if you're interested in doing that soon. And if not, you should do that in Arkansas. But
Yeah, I have an artist that could do it. I was waiting for Noah to draw it. So
Right.
that was like kind of the hold up with that. I didn't want to rush the artist. So but yeah, I'm down to do it like wherever. So
Okay.
Dallas or Little Rock. I could do it at BGG Con. I'd be fine with that.
oh, BGG Con is so soon. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
So
Um,
if
so-
any of you don't know, my life has sucked lately, and BGG Con, I'm gonna see all of my amazing favorite people very, very soon. I'm excited for that.
Joe Sando, you pronounced Tiffany's last name Kairos, if I am not mistaken, because we've had
It's
several conversations.
Karis. Yeah.
That is how you pronounce her new last name. I call her the One Tar.
The one Tara Tiffany Karis.
So
Followed by Xena and Ichi and Steve.
Oh, poor Steve's last.
Oh, Steve loves it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he does.
He
He's such a
asked for
good
the
guy.
puppies. That's how it worked.
It totally worked out well. So yeah, I know a couple people in the chat are going to be at BGG Con, but if you're going to be at BGG Con and you're in the chat, you should like do a cute emoji or something so that we know you're going to be there. And if I haven't met you in person, like feel free to say hi. Just give me like online context because I won't know your face. I'm really bad with that at first. And
yes,
like
tell
I need
me
like
your handle everywhere.
your handle exactly like write it on
Everywhere.
your badge, like write it on your badge, you know.
So
Yeah.
I'm
helps a lot.
convinced that the Friday or Saturday of BGG Con, I'm going to live tweet where I'm at and then have as many of you that can come and meet me as possible and as many people as are around as possible because it's going to be me. Susan and Steph are definitely at BGG Con. Nicole's at BGG Con. Netter's Plays is at BGG Con this year. So I want to meet as many people as possible, but it's so much easier if you just let us know who you are. It's way, 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 way easier than a full name.
Okay, I'm doing this. Let's try this. I'm sharing my screen, and you're going to see some craziness for a second.
Yes,
Totally
all
work. Totally see it.
So can you see that? Does that look okay?
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the picture, there's this picture that I have on my page, and it has that like black spot on my chest is like my hair coming underneath the hoodie. So that is the photo, and here's the other one.
Are you sure that's showing up on Twitch?
It should be because I'm sharing my screen on Google Hangouts, maybe.
Okay,
maybe
I'm
not.
seeing weird stuff on Twitch.
Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's like page within a page. Super weird. But
There you go. Oh, now we go. Okay.
So yeah, so that's one of those I will be getting tattooed on my body very soon.
Awesome. So hopefully people will say hi at BGG Con, and then you guys can Magzions, and then that's where I'll be picking up probably a few more Essen releases. That's one of the things I love about BGG is that a lot of the publishers or vendors have their Essen releases with them there, so it's really well timed. And then the hot games tables that they set up always have some of the greatest games out of Essen that you get to play. So I'm super excited for it. But I actually have a fair number of Essen games I need to get played here. So, Marguerite, I think we have to get together again soon.
Yay! Okay, I'm in for that because you know what I picked up today, right?
Ooh, yes.
role player.
Oh, yay! I'm so excited to try that.
I'm gonna roll my whole player with dice placement. That's my whole.
The people who kickstarted it, I didn't kickstart that one, and I thought about it, and then I didn't. But the people who kickstarted and got their copies have really been liking it, and I'm excited to try it.
The Kickstarter was not well done. It was by a new publisher, and like no one was about it. And then as soon as it got actually published, I'm like, oh yeah, I need this in my life.
Yeah,
So
I'm in to play that for sure.
And I have a couple other ones, and if anyone has Great Western Trail, I need more plays of that because I played once. That's not enough.
So Joe Sando wants to know what's role player.
So role player is a dice placement, worker placement game where you create a D&D character. So it's how you roll a player, but with dice placement, management, resource management kind of game. I thought it was fabulous, and I don't even like role-playing games, and this is so good for me. So, okay, the number of role-playing games I'm going to enjoy are like 3 out of 100. Okay,
I'm just kidding. It's okay for you to like different things.
View screen with Steph. If every role-playing game was view screen with Steph and John Gilmore, I would be totally about that because that was amazing. But I've played enough role-playing to know that a lot of it is not for me.
Ooh, does role player play solo? Tune says it does.
No. It is 2 to 4 players.
Maybe there's a solo variant
or something on BGG. Yeah,
I'm sure.
That's interesting. Well, let us know, Tunes, where you got that. Do we have anything, chat? Do you have anything you want to talk about? Any questions you want to ask? Any like tricks you recommend we do? Like, I can do this.
What?
I'm just kidding.
Is that your trick? Is that really your trick? Oh my!
Some people can't do that genetically.
It's like 50-50 of the population, right? 50% of the population can and 50 can't roll their tongue.
I mean, if it's recessive, it wouldn't exactly be 50%, but some people can do the try, clover.
The wavy tongue.
Can you do it?
No.
Wait, is Mags doing it? Is Mags
I was doing it. I'm not doing it anymore.
Do it.
I'm done now.
Do it. That's close. That's real close. Can you roll your tongue?
Oh.
No, not your R's, your tongue. Like it's in a little blanket. Do it.
What? Now what are you talking about?
Like this. This is we've delved. We're
so down the rabbit hole.
I've been here for days.
We're down the road. That's pretty much it, right?
Sexuality and games.
It is a taco tongue. Yes.
Taco tongue. Taco tongue.
Taco eating tongue.
And Gidget.
Okay, yeah, let's do Gidget. Gidget wants to help us close. Let's do this. Let's get music ready and Gidget ready. And we will close out. Very, very happy everyone that joined us. Thank you for sticking with us. What's this? Let's put it on
Fold It. Somebody just wanted to see Fold It. And so the material's really silky.
And then you make the different dishes.
Yep. And then you can fold it over to hide different things as you need to make the different dishes. So
such a cool game.
That is pretty cool. That's a neat idea.
Yep. Did I tell you that my friend Jake is in Japan right now and he's like, hey, anything you need? And I named a random game and he found it. I'm so excited.
That's awesome.
Ave Caesar, the Japanese reprint of that is available in Japan. We found it.
That's awesome.
So we're about to dance, and I want everyone to dance with us. Thank you all for joining us on this extended special 2-hour episode. Off the cuff, off the rails, off the sails. Games on the rocks, totally on the rocks, and all about games. We love you all, absolutely. And thank you. And now we're going to have a dance party. We're doing a dance party. Mags is getting out her 5th drink because she has them all over there just lined up.
2 drinks.
Two.
That was
Two,
it.
or whatever. I mean, I did bring a bottle of gin upstairs, so there's that. I'm trying to. Oh my god, I can't get the.
Oh my
music.
God, the music. It's not
Don't make
happening.
us sing. That nothing good comes of
know.
us singing.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
No, Nicole. Where is Nicole for
Yeah.
singing?
Okay, here we go. All right, here we go. Love it. So good.